Welcome back to my podcast. And if you're new here, thanks for tuning in. I am your host, Tiffany, and this is Tiffany's TVscape. Now, I wish I had a theme song because that would be so much better. Um, but yeah, we're just going to dive right back into our Stranger Things discussion. If you don't know, I've been talking about season 4 of Stranger Things. I talked about the first 2 episodes over, I guess, the last two podcast episodes that I did. So obviously, we're going to be talking about episode 3, or chapter 3, if you want to call it that. The episode is titled "The Monster and the Superhero." Now, I have to be honest that I did watch all of season 4 already, so I'm all caught up. What I really wanted to do was just kind of go back and discuss each episode and kind of, I guess, do a little bit of a recap, a little bit of a discussion, just because I feel like this season was arguably probably the best season of Stranger Things. I mean, I know I talked about how much I love season 3, but this season was like top notch. And everybody was talking about it, so I kind of just wanted to join in on the fun, and I feel like it would be cool and relevant to discuss. So hopefully you guys have seen season 4 already, because I do talk about spoilers in this podcast, so don't get mad at me. I'm telling you right now in the beginning. And of course, if you haven't seen season 4 and you don't really want to hear about what's going to happen, you can save my podcast episodes and come back to them later. I always upload same day. I upload to YouTube, Spotify, and Anchor. And then, of course, the videos are always up on my Facebook page. So just come back to my social medias and you'll find it. But yeah, I don't want to talk too much. I want to get right into this episode because these episodes are super, super long. They're each like an hour, hour and a half. So it's really hard to try to talk about everything that happens in the episode. So I tried to narrow it down to what I feel like were the most important or significant parts, the things that I think everybody else was kind of discussing. But if there are some things that happened in the episode and I'm not talking about it, and you're like, well, wait a minute, I want you to talk about this. Well, what about this? Just let me know. Leave a comment, hit me up, and I'll go back and discuss it. So I always start with the opening of each episode. So in the beginning of episode 3, we see Dr. Owens, which I feel like we haven't seen him in quite a while. If I'm not mistaken, he wasn't in season 3. Maybe he wasn't. I just completely forgot because I really don't remember a lot of what happened in the previous seasons, to be honest, especially season 1 and season 2. It's just like a blur because too much stuff has happened at this point. But I feel like we haven't seen him in a while. So this is kind of the first time we're seeing him this season, and he played pretty much a major role in this season, especially with Elle and her getting her powers back. And so the opening is basically the military confronting Dr. Owens, and they're like, we know Elle is still alive. Where is this girl at? Because we need to find her, because they think that she's the one doing these killings. Little do they know that it is not her. She's actually trying to, prevent it, really. Or I think at this point, she may not even really know how bad, it is in Hawkins. And just the severity of it. I don't think she knows at this point, like, everything that's going on, because she's in California, so she has no idea what's going on. But yeah, so the military, they kind of pretty much just trash his house to try to find evidence of Elle and where she's at. And at the time we were watching it, I wasn't really sure if he really knew where she was, but of course he does know. And then we kind of find out later that he had all this stuff stashed away that the military didn't find. Thankfully, he had it hidden pretty well, but it was all about this whole Project Nina thing. And that's kind of a big storyline in this season, again, with Elle and everything, and it helps her to get her powers back. But yeah, that's the opening scene. So we, right off the back, we know that the military is still after her. They still have an eye on her, but they really don't know where she's at. So technically they don't, but they're still really out to get her. And it's just crazy because it's like, how are you guys not seeing that she's not the one doing these killings, But, in their head, they're like, well, Dr. Brenner trained her for this, and this is exactly what she was made to do. But that's, we obviously know that's not true. She's never gone around just killing people. She has killed people, but it's always been in defense. So, yeah, so that's how the episode starts. And then last episode, So Elle pretty much smashed Angela's face in with the scape. Angela is her bully, kind of like one of the main bullies that we see throughout this season. And I mean, she did her in good because it shows they're all still at the skating rink. And now, the ambulance has been called and they're trying to help Angela, and everybody's just everybody's just standing there looking at her and going like, oh my God, like this girl is crazy. She really like went off on her. And even Mike and Will, even they look like, oh shoot, like this is really bad, like this is not going to be good. And she's kind of just, Ella's kind of just sitting off in the corner, and again, she's still having these flashbacks from what we saw in the beginning of the season in the first episode, where it looked like she had killed all of the other kids. And so for her, she's thinking, oh, I did that and now I'm doing this. And I think that's why this episode was titled The Monster and the Superhero, because she kind of has this whole, I feel like this whole internal struggle throughout the entirety of this season of, am I one of the good guys or am I the bad guys? Am I kind of just like, these other people that are, I shouldn't say like these other people, but am I kind of like Dr. Brenner? Am I like, this person that's killing these people in Hawkins? I think she kind of goes back and forth of, you know, um, what's classified as good and what's classified as bad, because she has killed people. That's the reality of it. And then, she's still young. They're all like 15. So that's a really hard thing to kind of digest and to kind of deal with. And although she does have Mike and like her friends, they pretty much always back her up, and they'll be the first to tell her like, no, you're a superhero. I think Mike calls her a superhero like a couple times throughout the season, but to her it's just like, no, I'm not. I lost my powers. And it's like, and I think her power has always been pretty much like a big part of her identity. I think she was trying to find out who she was outside of her powers. And obviously that didn't go well. Like when she was in California, she was getting bullied and all this other stuff. So I think with or without her powers, she just kind of sees that like, I'm different and that's never going to change. And people are probably going to always view me as being different, but that's just who I am. She can't help that. She can't help what Dr. Brenner did to her. She can't help the way that she grew up. She's always just going to be different because of her experiences. Like she has such unique experiences. Nobody else in the party or in the crew can say that they went through what she went through. Um, so yeah, so I think that's pretty much kind of like a big storyline that we see setting up in episode 3 that kind of continues on throughout the entirety of season 4. And then with Lucas, he's kind of caught up with the basketball team still. So Jason, who's like the head of the basketball team, he's pretty much like, you kind of see him slowly falling off the deep end this season now that he knows that Chrissy is dead, which was his girlfriend. And he's kind of just like, okay, we're going after Eddie because he thinks that Eddie is a part of, he knows that Eddie is a part of Hellfire Club, and he views Hellfire Club as like this demonic ritual, satanic thing. And he pretty much thinks that Eddie killed Chrissy. And so he kind of is rallying up all the other guys on the basketball team, and he's like, yeah, we're going to confront this dude. We're going to do something about it if the police won't. And Lucas is kind of caught in the middle of like, I want to be a part of the popular crowd, and I am on the basketball team, and I'm cool with these people, but like, how far are we going to go? Like, what exactly are you trying to do? And I think in the beginning, I wouldn't say you're necessarily rooting for Jason, but you really understand his point of view. Like if you just lost your partner and it kind of seems like nobody's really doing anything about it, of course you would probably take matters into your own hand, which usually, in TV and movies, that's usually not a good thing because you end up getting killed or you end up, making things worse. But, I kind of understand where he's coming from, like why he's so distraught and why he's pretty much just like, I can't just sit and not do anything. Like I have to go, But the thing is, he doesn't know the whole story. And so that's where he messes up. He just assumes that it's Eddie, and he assumes that Hellfire Club is full of, evil people. And that's not what it is. Like he has no idea what he's up against. And that's like the crazy part about it, that he doesn't know anything about the Upside Down, or that, the Mind Flayer exists, that Vecna is out there killing. He doesn't know anything about that. So he's pretty much like putting him and his whole friends in danger, and he just doesn't realize it. So that's a big thing with this episode and pretty much throughout the whole season. Um, and then, with the Hawkins crew, which is Max and Dustin and Steve, Robin, Nancy, um, they kind of end up, they're pretty much kind of putting pieces together, figuring out, oh, my earrings just fell, kind of just figuring out, you know, who is Vecna, why he's doing this. They're trying to figure out the why, because the way he's targeting people at this point doesn't make sense. Like, he's just killing a bunch of teenagers, and they're just like, well, why is he doing this? And what's the pattern here? Like, what's his MO? We need to figure this out. And so they kind of end up splitting up. Nancy and Robin go off to kind of look more into the whole Victor Creel thing that was mentioned last episode by Eddie's uncle. And so now they're kind of like, okay, Victor Creel, this has something to do with it, and we just don't know what yet. And then the rest of them are kind of, I feel like they were kind of, I'm trying to remember because so much stuff happened. I feel like they were kind of just trying to figure out like the whole symptoms of like what connected Fred to Chrissy, because Fred was the next person that died, I think, in this episode. Yeah, because the police find Fred's body. So at this point they're like, okay, there's a serial killer on the loose, because the way these bodies are popping up is not normal, and it's just not okay. And so the police, they have no idea what the heck is going on either. But it's always up to the kids. The kids are like super smart, and they always figure things out. So that's kind of what they're doing throughout the entirety of the episode. And then back in Russia with Hopper, he teams up with one of the guards, Enzo, and they're pretty much making a plan for Hopper's escape. And Enzo's kind of just like, hey, as long as I get my money, like, you're free to go, basically. But the problem with that is there has to be a middleman. So for him to pretty much like fly out of Russia and go back to the States, he has to have somebody to fly him. And Enzo tells him about his friend, and he's like, yeah, he'll help you out. And even Hopper's kind of like, well, how do we know we can trust him and everything? So that, you'll see how that, if you haven't seen it, you'll see how that plays out in the next few episodes. But that ends up being a problem, as you probably already realized. And then I think this episode too really sets up what's going to happen with Max in the next episode. Now, episode 4 was one of the best episodes this season, or actually one of the best episodes of Stranger Things, period. Probably one of, dare I say it, one of the best episodes of TV I've ever seen. It was really, really good, really emotional. And Sadie Sink, who plays Max, I mean, I gotta clap it up for her, because the acting was like on point, really, with everybody, but especially with her. Like, she really played her role. So that's kind of the setup with her that we're seeing. And she's still dealing with the grief of losing Billy. And even though her and Billy weren't close and she pretty much hated him, it was like, that's still her stepbrother. And she still feels a lot of guilt. I think there's a lot of survivor's guilt maybe too, because she's kind of thinking like, oh, it was you and not me, or, I didn't do anything to stop it. I didn't do anything to save you. And now, I'm kind of just left with, her mom is like drinking and stuff. Her stepdad is gone. That's a lot to deal with for anybody, but just imagine being a teenager and dealing with all that. And she can't really talk to anybody about what really happened. I look silly with this one earring. I'm gonna take it off. But she's just like, it's like, how do you deal with that? Like, she talks to the counselor and she tells so much. And of course she has her friends, but she's pretty much blocked them out about what's really going on with her. So I think I would say probably with the majority of the main cast is a lot of internal things going on. But I would say especially with Elle, with Will, and then with Max, I think it was probably with them the most, I would say. Or at least that's what it seemed like to me. So that's kind of like, I would say kind of like the recap of where everybody's at with episode 3. One of the things that I really, really wanted to discuss, and I'll kind of go back to some other things that happened in the episode, but I just have to discuss this, you guys. I was going to wait until I kind of got more into the season so that it would make sense to people that haven't seen it. But at this point, I'm kind of just like, it's all out there. And I've already told you that I'm going to talk about spoilers. So, if you don't want to hear it, you can click out. But we just have to talk about Will Byers and everything that's been like all the, I don't want to say controversy, but that's kind of what people are making it into. Everything that's kind of just been surrounding his character and his character sexuality, and you know, does he love Mike? Is he, is he jealous of Elle and Mike because of XYZ, or is it this, is it that? There's been like this whole debate with his character pretty much this whole season, especially once volume 1 came out and we were kind of just like, okay, what is really going on with this character? And so I think I mentioned this in my last episode that I wanted to talk about this, but I'm so just like like I just have to laugh about it because I'm just like, why are you guys finding it so hard to accept that Will is gay? I don't understand that. And at this point, it's been confirmed. Now, when volume 1 came out, we didn't know for sure. Like nobody, I don't think anybody from the cast or even the Duffer Brothers was actually saying, yeah, Will is gay. They were kind of just saying, you're gonna see like his story kind of play out, and um, there's kind of like, I guess, hints about his sexuality, but nothing's ever explicitly said. But at this point, Noah Schnapp, who plays Will, has said in a Variety article that Will is gay and that Will does love Mike. So at this point, you can't even deny it. You can't say, oh well, I'm like, this boy plays Will, so he should know. I mean, actors should know their characters, and I feel like he wouldn't have said that had he not already had a prior conversation with the Duffer Brothers or even with some of the other writers. So, but even before he said that, you guys, there was some really like weird things that people were saying. It's like people were just trying to go around the fact that Will was gay, or that there was a big possibility that he was gay at the time. And it was just all these excuses. And I was just like, you guys, come on now. Like, are we all watching the same show? Like, is it really that hard to see that Will, he's never shown any interest in girls, and that doesn't automatically mean somebody is gay. I know people are going to be like, whoa, I know that. But the way they've shown it, even in the first episode of this season, was it the first? It was either the first episode or the second episode. There's a scene where one of his classmates like rubs her leg, up against his leg, trying to get his attention and pretty much just trying to say like, hey, like, probably she probably thinks he's cute or whatever. And he like pulls away and he's just like, like, no, 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 no. And yeah, you can, and people were just like, well, no, he's just different. He's just sensitive. He's just shy, he doesn't, he's just not ready to be in a relationship or to have a girlfriend, all these other things, which, I think that could be true too, besides the whole girlfriend thing. I think that's true too, because I feel like that's a big part of his character. He's always kind of been like the shy one in the group. And I think even Joyce, I think she even described him as being like sensitive and kind of being different way back in season 1 or season 2 or something like that. So that's always been like who he was as a character, but it was like people were just being dense. And I don't know if they were being dense on purpose or if they really just couldn't see that Will was not into women and that he was in fact into Mike. And you guys, there was even people saying that like, no, Will is into Elle. Like he's jealous because he likes Elle. And I'm like, you sure about that? Go back and rewatch season 4 and tell me where you've ever seen Will show any type of love interest, any type of affection, like romantic affection for Elle. Please point that out to me because I've never seen that from him at all. Like, and you have to remember that Will wasn't ever really close with Elle, like in the previous seasons. In the first, I want to say in the first 2, he didn't really know her. Like in the first one, he didn't really know her because he was missing for the majority of it. And then it was like when he did know her, he didn't really, I don't remember them ever being close. And then by season 3, Elle was with Mike, so she was spending all of her time with him. They were being a couple, being like young teenagers in love, just spending all this time with each other. And Will was obviously like not with that because he's like, Mike, why are you spending all this time with this girl? So he definitely wasn't close with her last season. So I'm just like, when has there ever been evidence of Will liking Elle as more than a friend? Like I've never ever seen that. So I thought that was really funny, but I'm also kind of just like, come on, you guys, like seriously, I'm not trying to be judgmental, but at the same time, just like pay attention, please. Anyway, so yeah, there was a lot of that, and I've seen a lot of that on social media, more specifically on Facebook. And I'm sorry to say it, but a lot of it was like older people saying that. So I'm not sure if they were just kind of upset at Will possibly being gay, if they were like homophobic or something. I don't know. Or if maybe they just really don't want anything to break up Mike and Elle, and they don't want Will to come in between that. Like, I can understand that, because I know there's people that really ship Mike and Elle so hard, and they're just like, no, they're meant to be together, blah blah blah. And Mike is straight, he's not gay, so he would never go for Will, which might be true. We don't know, but either way, I'm just like, why are you so upset at the fact that he's like that Will is gay and that he's trying to figure out his sexuality? He's still trying to figure out his feelings. Like, I don't, I think in this season, he's really just trying to come to terms with it. Or maybe he kind of already realized it after the end of season 3, like when, him and his family went off to California, and then he was away from Mike all that time. How they say absence makes the heart grow fonder. So maybe that time away from him, he really like realized, like, okay, maybe I was jealous for more than what I thought. Maybe it's because I want to be in the place that Elle is in. I want to get that affection and that attention from Mike. I think and it was kind of seeing like that too. Like, I don't think it's just because he wants his friend back. Now, that's a part of it, because they've been friends since they were little kids. So, that makes sense. So, like, if your best friend gets in a relationship and it seems like they kind of forget about you, then yeah, you're probably going to feel some type of way about it, especially at that age. But I don't, it was just the way they were kind of portraying it. It was just like, no, there's more there. And clearly we know now that it is because he has feelings for Mike. But yeah, there was just so many people going, no, it's not that, it's this. And I was just like, I don't know. But you guys tell me what you think about it. Like, did you peep that Will was gay early on? Because I saw some people going like, well, yeah, there was already hints of it earlier in the season. So now everything, like the dots are just connecting. I never really thought about that in the first couple of seasons, to be honest. And I think because Will was just so young, I wasn't really thinking about like his sexuality back then. But I might have to go back and rewatch the earlier seasons if I get time to, just to kind of see what people were talking about. But I feel like, I don't know, I feel like the majority of us wasn't sure about that, because I think even when Volume 1 came out, I think I even posted something about it I'm in a Stranger Things group on Facebook, and that's where I saw a lot of people saying weird stuff about him, like not being gay and him being into Elle and all this stuff, and I was just like, okay, whatever, you guys. But yeah, I think even I was kind of like, well, are they playing it that he's different because because he's sensitive and because of what he went through in the Upside Down, back in the first 2 seasons? Because obviously he was traumatized by that, and I don't think he's ever fully healed from that either. And that's part of the reason why I felt so bad for him this season, besides the fact that he is into his best friend and he really can't say anything about it because he doesn't want to be judged. But just the fact that he went through a lot in the first 2 seasons. And I think some people kind of forget about that because so much other stuff has happened. And I think at one point he was kind of the center of attention because everybody was trying to find him and trying to make sure that he was okay, especially with Mike. And now he doesn't have that anymore. And so I just really sympathize with him, I guess. I feel like he doesn't really have that same support that Elle has now. Like, and that's not to take away anything that's going on with Elle, because like I said, I know she's been through like a ton of crap. But I feel like if Elle is crying or if she's hurting or if she needs someone to talk to, like Mike is going to be there, obviously, because that's her boyfriend. And I think everybody else kind of backs her up too. But with Will, it just seems like, I don't know, I just feel like it's different with Will now. Like, I feel like he doesn't have that. Like, yeah, he has Jonathan and everything, but him and Jonathan have been kind of distant. And Jonathan's going through his own stuff. He's trying to keep his relationship with Nancy afloat. He's stressing about college. He's getting high all the time with Argyle. So, it's like everybody's going through their own thing. But I don't know. It's just different with Will. I just feel like sometimes he gets left out in the cold is what it kind of seems like. And I guess a part of that is because he doesn't really speak up about how he's feeling. Like, a lot of times he's too busy trying to cater to everybody else's emotions. Like a lot of scenes with him and Mike this season was like him trying to give him the support that Mike needed, and it's like he's not really doing that for himself. And so I'm just like, man, Like, poor Will. I don't know what it is. It's just, I just really feel bad for him. I feel bad for all of them, really, but something specifically with Will where I'm just like, dang, like that sucks, you know? But, but yeah, I just had to bring that up. And then I think I even saw somebody, y'all, I think I even saw somebody say that they thought the painting that Will made was going to be for Nancy. What? Why would he make a painting for Nancy? Like somebody was like, yeah, that's why he brought it to the airport because he thought Nancy was gonna be there. And I'm like, at this point, y'all playing. Stop playing around. Like you know dang well he was not about to make some painting for Nancy. Him and Nancy are not even friends. Like that's his best friend's older sister. Why the heck would he make a painting for her? This is what I'm talking about. People just come up with all kinds of stupid excuses just to avoid the fact that Will is gay and that he does love Mike. Like, I just don't understand that. And honestly, might sound harsh, but if it's that big a deal to you, if it's really like, if it's really making you that upset, don't watch the show anymore. That's how I feel about it. Like, stop going online and complaining about making his character gay. Like, just don't watch it. It's really simple. There's plenty of other TV shows out there for you guys to watch. Um, and it's just it's really not like all of what people are making it out to be like. And I think it's more of a, I guess it's more of a big deal because you know this is set in the 80s. It's like 1986 I think this season, so obviously yeah, that would have been a bigger deal to be gay back then. And then he's from Indiana. I'm pretty sure like you know people in it, and he did used to get bullied too. I think they used to bully him for that, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like in the earlier seasons they used to call him like, you know, like homophobic slurs and stuff. So, you know, maybe it does always it maybe it did always connect and we just didn't see it. Like some of us just didn't see it until now, I guess. But what I'm saying is like in real life, it's really not that big a deal for a character to be gay in TV now. So I'm just like, why are you guys like what how does that hurt you in any way? This is a fictional character, by the way, not a real person. So what why is that making you so upset? Like maybe you should do some internal work there and figure out why you're so upset about that. But anyway, so yeah, I want to know what you guys think about it. Like, did you always know that he was gay? Did you already suspect that he liked Mike? Um, and what you think is going to happen in the next season? Because now, you know, again, I don't want to like get ahead of myself because I'm only talking about episode 3, but there is a conversation that happens between Will and Jonathan later in volume 2, I think. And it's kind of clear that like Jonathan knows, I don't know if he knows for sure that he's gay, but he knows that like he knows that something's going on. Like this is his brother and he could tell that he's not okay. So I'm just wondering, like, besides Jonathan, like, do you think Will should tell somebody else? Do you think he will have a big coming out scene? You know, because I think a lot of people were kind of upset about that. They were just like, well, why is he not? You know, they wanted it to be more clear that he was gay. And I mean, I feel like they kind of make it obvious, especially in volume 2. But I guess you know, everybody has their own perspective, their own feelings about it. You know, they wanted a more straightforward coming out scene like the way Robin had in season 3, which I thought was a really great scene. But, you know, Will is not Robin. You know, Robin is a little bit older than him. Um, and Robin, you know, I think part of the reason why she did come out too, because she knew Steve liked her and she was kind of just like, yeah, I got to tell you, this ain't going to happen because I'm not even into guys. So, you know, but yeah, so I don't really feel like it should be like, well, Robin did this, so Will should do this too, because it's like they're two different characters. So you can't really expect him to go about things, you know, the same way. And his situation is different because he's into his best friend, which is well, one, his best friend, and two, his best friend is in a relationship with his now kind of like sister, basically. And that was another reason why I thought it was so weird. I was like, why would Will, you know, why would they make Will be into Elle, and Elle is kind of like his sister now? Like, that's just weird. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know they're not blood related, but at this point, like, that's kind of his adopted sister because Joyce has taken her under, you know, under her wing and they live together. They've been living together for the last year in California. So I definitely think they're going more for like a brother sister type relationship between Will and Elle. So I really don't see the writers making Will like Elle. That just doesn't make sense to me. It just wouldn't make sense to the story, and it wouldn't make sense to their characters, honestly. So yeah, I did a lot of talking there. I just had to get that out because I've been seeing a lot of nonsense since this season came out, and I was just like, I just felt the need to talk about this with somebody. So I'm hoping you guys feel the same way I do, where you're just kind of like, they've kind of been making it obvious throughout this whole season. So I don't understand why people are being so difficult about it and trying to go around it and say he's not gay. It's just this, it's that. No, the boy is gay, okay? And he likes Will. Get over it. That's what I'm going to say about it. So part of me is kind of, if I'm being completely honest, part of me is kind of pushing for Will to get Mike, only because I want Will to be happy. It's not so much because I think Mike would be like the best boyfriend. I really don't think he's that great of a partner. But again, he's 15, so he has a lot to learn. But it's not so much that I'm like, oh my God, they would be the perfect couple. It's more so because I just want Will to win. Like, this boy been through a lot. And I just feel like I said, it just feels like he's always left out in the cold. And if getting Mike makes him happy, then that's what I want for him. But at the same time, it's like, where does that leave Elle? And what would that do to, like, what would that do to their friendship? What would that do to the rest of the group? I don't know. I mean, I feel like that probably won't happen because Mike and Elle have been kind of like the power couple for the last couple of seasons. So I don't really see them breaking up because of Will. If they did break up, I feel like it would probably be because I feel like it would probably be Elle maybe doing it. I don't know. But yeah, that's probably not going to happen. But I'm hoping that he finds some happiness. And so far, I've heard that the Duffer Brothers, I don't know if this is true. I've heard that they're not introducing any new characters into the next season. So that means there's no chance of him having like a new love interest. I think that would probably be better if they brought in a new guy and didn't kill him, by the way. If they brought in a new guy and he ended up with Will, I think that would be really, really sweet. That would be really cute to see, but I don't know if they're bringing in any new characters since it's going to be the last season. And I'm afraid if they did that, then they would kill him off. And it's like, don't do that to Will. You better not do that to Will. He's already been through enough. So part of me feels like, well, if he does end up dating somebody, if there is like an end game with, with Will and somebody, the only person I could think was it would be Mike. But I don't know. But then, there's also where maybe he does come out and he does tell Mike how he feels, and Mike, he accepts it. Obviously, he's not like, maybe he just says, well, I'm straight and I'm not into you that way, but like, you're still my best friend and I accept you. It could be something like that. I mean, that would be nice to see. That would probably be more realistic. So maybe they'll kind of do something like that. I don't know. I'm really, really interested to see what they're going to do with his storyline next season. I mean, I'm interested to see what's going to happen with all of them, but I think specifically with Will because of the way they've set things up this season. And then I'm kind of wondering if something's going to happen with like Vecna because he's still connected to the Upside Down. If Vecna is going to kind of like torture him about that because he knows people's like guilts and their fears. And I'm sure if he gets inside, Will's mind, he's going to see that like he's afraid of coming out and he's afraid of what people will think of him. So I'm kind of scared that he might use that against him. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to go that far with it, but Stranger Things they went far this season, so who knows? But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that, and I kind of want to know your guys' opinions on it. So leave a comment down below, or message me if you would rather have a private conversation about it. I would love to talk about it because I just think it's really interesting what they're doing with this character. And Will has never really been my favorite character, to be honest, but I just feel like I'm really zeroed in on what's going to happen with him right now. So yeah, that there's that discussion. That's what I wanted to get out, and I'll probably talk about it a little bit more as we get more into season 4 because there's definitely some really emotional conversations that Will has with Mike and just emotional scenes with him, period, that I wanted to talk about. And I thought were really, was really, really good. And it made me kind of like tear up a little bit. So I'll talk about that more probably next week and, the following weeks as I keep talking about Stranger Things, basically. And I am way behind on this, but I did want to kind of tell you guys that my podcast is sponsored by Streann Media. So if you didn't know, now you know. The way I'm able to go live every week with you guys is because I use the Streann Studio software. So Streann is spelled with 2 N's. Streann. If you would like to use the Streann Studio software, you can do it too. It's really easy. It's simple. It's free. Anybody can use it. All you have to do is go to studio.streann.com and you put in an email. You get a login code and you're in, so you don't have to worry about paying for anything. There's no like signing up for an account or anything like that. And you can do this too. Trust me. Like if I can do it, you can do it. I didn't know what I was doing when I first started. I still really don't know what I'm doing, but you learn as you go. So if you guys want to do your own podcast, if you want to do live streaming, you could live stream through Facebook like I do. You can go live on Twitch, on YouTube, on let's see. I mean, I think there's other social sites that you can go live on too, but I just know those are the main ones that you could do it. You could do it through the Streann Studio software. They have it set up really easy where you kind of just click on the icon, whatever social media that you want to go live on, and then you just connect it to your page and you can go live. So yeah, they make it really easy for me. It's kind of just like, I would say it's just kind of like using Zoom or any type of video call. If you know how to do that, you'll be able to do this. And it comes along with a lot of cool features. The way I'm able to like display my name on the screen, the way I'm able to kind of like choose my own background. You could do that too. You could probably get really creative with it. I still have a lot that I want to play with as I, keep doing this podcast every week. And I try to switch it up a little bit just so it doesn't look the same every time you guys see me. But yeah, there's a lot you can do. So I recommend exploring it for yourself. Let me know if you use the Streann Studio software. You could tag Streann Media. They're on Instagram and Facebook. They're on social media. So I'm sure they would love to see that you're using their platform as well, because that's what it's here for. So yeah. Before I kind of wrap up this episode, I did want to go back a little bit to things that happened in episode 3. I did want to talk a little bit about what happens with Elle, because again, this is a big setup for the next episode. So as we know, Elle, I keep laughing at this, but it's just funny. I'm sorry. Elle busted in Angela's face with that skate. So the ambulance show up and they're tending to her, and then they end up leaving. And at first you're kind of like, well, how did she get away with that? Like, that was pretty much assault. But it catches up to her later because the police show up at the door and they're looking for Elle and they arrest her. And they, Mike and Jonathan and Will, and I'm trying to think, is Argyle in the picture at this point? No, he's not there yet. But they go to the station. They're trying to get her out of jail. And the lady pretty much tells them, like, no, she's going to, like a juvenile detention thing. And so, they fail at trying to get her out. So at this point, I feel like, if I remember correctly, from this point on, she's kind of separated from everybody for the rest of the season, up until, I would say, the last 2 episodes. So up until like volume 2. So she gets detained and they're taking her away. And there's this really like crazy scene where you see these cars rushing in behind her and you're thinking, oh God, is this I know I was thinking that. I'm like, oh God, is this the military coming to get her? Like, please not. I was like, because that's not good that she got arrested, because now her name, her fingerprints are in the system and you already got people looking for her. But what happens is Dr. Owen shows up. So I was like, thank God it was him and not, I don't even remember the dude's name, the black dude, the military guy, that he's annoying. Anyway, so it's Dr. Owens, and he takes her and transfers her to, they pretty much go to this restaurant, and he kind of tells her all about Project Nina, and basically tells her like, I'm here to help you get your powers back, and you're going to need them because something big is coming. And, we're going to need you to step up and kind of, be the superhero basically. But the thing I like about Dr. Owens compared to Dr. Brenner is that he always gives her a choice. He tells her what it is, and he's like, it's up to you. Like, if you're ready to do this, if you want to get your powers back, if you're, wanting to gear up and fight, come with me and I'll show you what we've, got planned for you. If not, I'll take you back home to your friends. And that's it. And so obviously she chooses to go with him. And like I said, she's kind of separated from everybody at this point. And we kind of see more about Project Nina in the next episode, what it is and what exactly she needs to do to get her powers back. And it deals a lot with her pretty much retaining her memories. I think the whole thing, that everything that happened in the Hawkins lab, a big chunk of that is buried like really, really deep in her subconscious, because it was probably just so traumatic for her. Like her brain was just like, you need to forget about this. And so she doesn't remember. And then she was really young too. I don't even remember how old she was when this happened, but she was way younger. And so the key to pretty much getting her powers back is remembering this and kind of facing her trauma. So it's all like psychological stuff. It's really crazy, but like I said, I'll get more into it next week. We're going to continue the discussion with Stranger Things. We're going to talk about episode 4, which I cannot wait to talk about that, because as I've said, one of, if not the best episodes of TV of Stranger Things that I've ever seen. I think a lot of people can agree with that. If you've seen episode 4, it was just really, really, it was just done really amazingly. So everybody that was a part of the crew, everybody that made that episode, like kudos to you guys. Like you deserve awards for that. Like it was just really, really good. So yeah, I'll be talking about that. I'm still hoping to get some guests on. So if you know anybody that worked on Stranger Things, whether they were part of the cast or worked behind the scenes, like tell them to hit me up, tell them about the podcast so they can come on and talk about their experience. I would love to hear that. Or if you're just a big fan, you're like, hey, I want to come on and talk about the show, like you can come on too. There really isn't anything to it. You just got to let me know so that we can get things set up. And yeah, and of course I can have more than one person. So if you wanted to do a group thing, if you wanted to have like a whole roundtable discussion, let's go in about Will and Mike. Like I really want to talk more about that and why people are so upset about it. So yeah, if you have a topic on Stranger Things that you want to discuss and you want to be on the podcast, just leave a comment down below, or like I said, you can message me. Follow me on Twitter. That's where I talk a lot about TV shows. I talked about Barry a lot on there. I talk about Stranger Things. I talk about pretty much any like TV show or movie that I'm into. Same thing with like music and everything. That's where I kind of like will discuss all of that. And then of course you can follow me on Facebook so that you can see when I go live. My Twitter is at Prima Donna Girls, and girls is spelled with the U, so GURLS. And then my Facebook is just, Tiffany McCoy. And then I would say follow me on Instagram and all these other things, but I'm not as active on Instagram like I was before, and I don't really go on there to discuss like TV and everything. So Twitter is definitely the place to follow me. I would say Twitter and Facebook for right now. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. I hope to see you guys next Tuesday at 1 p.m. As always, I go live at the same time every week, and I will be uploading this episode if you missed it live, so that you can go back and watch it. And hopefully you guys are keeping up with hopefully you guys are keeping up with me talking about Stranger Things. And if not, like I said, you can always go back and watch it later. And yeah, I think that was kind of the gist of what I wanted to discuss this episode. I always have to like pause and think, because I'm like, there's so much to talk about that I feel like if I just log off, then I'm going to be like, shoot, like I forgot to mention this. But I think I pretty much got out what I wanted to talk about. So yeah, tune in next week, and we're going to continue on until we get all the way up until episode 9, you guys. That's the last episode of season 4, and it's crazy. Just wait till we get to that episode, because when I tell you I cried, I for real cried, like no joke. But anyway, I'll get back to that later. So hope you guys have a good week, and I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Bye.